Raging Kucing here with Erik Kaye, returning candidate, hopeful for the City of Victoria's upcoming municipal election.
Yeah.
Eric, thanks for taking a second to talk to us. Can you tell us a little bit about your platform?
Sure, I'm running on infrastructure, investing in infrastructure like Crystal Pool, investing in a 20-year infrastructure plan to protect our public assets, and making our Victoria more affordable for families and businesses.
Wonderful. Great to hear. The Crystal Pool is an important community structure, and I'd like to see that stay and be developed. Are any animal issues important to you when you think about being a councillor in the community?
Absolutely. I mean, I personally, I have 2 cats myself, and I'm a lover of nature. I've been whale watching since I was a kid, so I think coexisting with our natural environment, both our animals, our plants, the natural world around us is critical.
Yeah.
And so I think, I know horse-drawn carriages. When I see a horse-drawn carriage, I'm always concerned about the conditions those horses are working under.
Right.
I've heard different views around that. I'd like to get to know more about that and be educated about that, because I don't want our city to support an industry that's not humane. At the same time, I know it's a traditional industry. It's been here a long time.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that those horses are being treated humanely, and that they're being treated, in a proper and not cruel way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it says a lot when you say you have a lot of concern for the horses because they're in traffic. There are accidents have happened, of course.
They have.
And it's quite scary for everyone when it happens.
In fact, my son was actually right in Old Town, just a few blocks from here, about a couple of years ago, when a horse got free. He was terrified. The horse broke free.
Is that true when it ran through Chinatown?
I believe that's the case. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, when you feel that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that tells you something about kind of an intuitive position of, is this really okay? And I'm wondering, if a ban was proposed on the horse-drawn carriages, would you support it in the community?
I'd want to take a look at it. I'm not prepared to say an immediate yes to that. I think there's been studies, there's been a code of conduct done.
Yeah.
So I'd like, before I look at a ban, I want to see sort of what's the best practice. I mean, I was in Quebec City this summer. They have horse-drawn carriages. Like, is there an international sort of standard that we can look at?
Yeah.
Let's say if we did ban them, those were working horses, what would happen to them? So I think it's not as simple as just let's ban it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I want to learn more about it, and I'm certainly open to more stringent rules or more safeguards if there's some issues, because obviously we don't want any horse, any animal being treated inhumanely.
Right. Well, I mean, the horses are already regulated by SPCA guidelines and such.
Yeah.
And we still see these things happening.
Sure.
Do you think there's a place for animals to be used in this kind of way as work animals in a very strange and
I mean, is the ideal world if we could reinvent the world tomorrow? I would say no. But the reality, these animals are there now, right? So that's the issue.
That's right.
So in other words, again, if I just finish my answer.
Okay.
So if we said, okay, tomorrow there's no more horse-drawn carriages, and they've been doing this all their lives, I'm not convinced that would necessarily be better for the horses. Maybe it is. I have to learn more about it. I want to learn from you. I want to learn from your group and do some research before I say an immediate sort of let's ban it.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about another issue? Certainly the deer call is one that matters to a lot of people in the community, even though the deer aren't, I think, as big of an issue here in the City of Victoria itself, but certainly Oak Bay and outlying municipalities, it's much more prevalent.
It is.
And, to some people here too. So, what's your position on that?
Well, first of all, it is a Victoria issue. I mean, in my neighborhood of Fernwood, we've had them all over.
Okay, good.
I was out door knocking in Fairfield just last week. There's a huge one came right. It was actually a bit scary. It came very close to us. So, I mean, it's obvious that the root cause of this is habitat destruction. It's overbuilding. It's sprawl.
Yeah.
And what's happening is the deers are being driven here, and there's no predators, so they're multiplying. And so, again, that's not their fault. I mean, that's us. We are doing that to the deers. So the issue is, again, in a perfect world, that would never have happened. We never would have built in their habitat. We never would have allowed that to happen. Unfortunately, it has. And I'm convinced that if we don't do something, there's going to be some huge accident for the deer. It's not good for the deer. The deer, in nature, there's a natural balance with food supply, predation, and reproduction.
Yeah.
And right now, they have no predators. And, they're getting habituated to humans. So I think there needs to be, whether it's relocation, sterilization, there's a number of solutions people have talked about. So I don't want to rule in or out a call at this point, but I do think we can't completely dismiss it, because the current situation where there's no predators and they're multiplying is dangerous. It's dangerous to them. Some friends of mine have got Lyme disease, right? So they bring a lot of undesirable things with them. And again, it's not the deer's fault, but they don't belong in a core urban environment. That's not where deers are meant to be.
Yeah, I think there's there's a lot of information in what you just said. You know, like Lyme disease, of course, is not of course, deer can carry that tick, but so can your dog if you go out into the more forested areas in Victoria.
You're right.
So they're no more of a threat than the family dog if you're going out into the wilderness and such. And
right,
them
but
home.
if you're not going to the wilderness, most people don't. So you're in the community, and the deer has a ticks, right? Yeah. So
I would like to see, and I haven't been able to see this, and I know a lot of people I work with have done research and showing like just how many Lyme disease infections have actually been caused by deer ticks and that getting passed on. Furthermore, there's a lot of fear mongering about this issue in the community through the media and stuff about the dangers of it, and yet, of course, there are accidents here and there, but it is such a small fraction of ICBC insurance claims that it's pretty insignificant when you consider all the other things people are injured by much more significally. Texting and driving, talking on your cell phone, drinking and driving, without no seatbelt, all that kind of stuff. So, when people talk about a deer call, they often go to all these things, but it often comes back to a more personal space of like, well, I don't like them eating my flowers, or I don't like them eating, on my property, or something where I feel intimidated by them in the community, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, if nobody can really claim to have factual evidence of the dangers of the deer, should we really be proceeding with a call? Do they deserve, in your opinion, do they deserve to be killed for that, or should we pursue non-lethal methods?
It would be a last resort for sure. I mean, if I could be convinced that we could find non-lethal methods to achieve the same end, I would definitely be open to that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm enthusiastic about a call at all. I'm saying that what I've read, what I've seen, and I'm not an expert, but I've read about it, is that they have looked at a lot of alternatives. I know they looked at a lot of alternatives, and that it would be limited. I mean, we'll work with First Nations to make sure if there is a call that it's used in a sensitive way with First Nations. I mean, First Nations have killed deer for years, right? So there's a number of ways of doing it. But the reality is that if we could find, if it could show we can achieve the same goals, the non-lethal means, I'm certainly open to looking at that.
Right. Do you know how the call would be carried out?
No, again, but we don't have it. Right, the CRD has a deer management strategy, and Oak Bay. I mean, the city of Victoria is not looking at a call right now. It's the Oak Bay that is.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not running an Oak
You haven't
Bay.
seen it or anything?
No.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks
I appreciate it. Good luck in the election.
Yeah, absolutely.